just don't think you can make a show about nature now without that perspective. So I'm glad that it was noticed, because the whole point is that it's noticed. So we introduce every episode's location first with the Indigenous territory that it's on before saying, what it's now called.
Hello, Melissa, Tavis. It is wonderful to chat with you. The Secrets of the Forest is so much fun. It is just such a joy. Um, Melissa, let's start with you. Where did the series come from? How did it originate?
Yeah, so Fifth Ground Entertainment, the production company, it's not their first nature show. They've done for kids specifically. They've done a show about fish and a show about bugs. And so TVO loved those properties and kind of thought, what about forests? And then they're like, hey, Melissa, what about forests? And I'm like, what about forests? Literally everything about forests is amazing. What do you mean, what about? We can't just talk about trees. We can't just talk about we have to get into the small and the big and the even smaller and the microscopic. And so then Secrets of the Forest, we figured it doesn't limit us and we can tell all the stories. So we got to tell 26 of them, but
Wow.
there's more out there.
Yeah,
And it really is amazing. It just is amazing across board. And you've found a pretty special host. I'm not gonna lie.
Listen, we
Pretty great.
know.
How did you know that Tavis was going to be your host?
Yeah, well, it was based on her curiosity in our auditions. So our auditions, we had some scripted lines for our hosts to say, but we also, do you remember what we gave you, Tavis? I don't, our executive producer went and got something from his garden and, put it on a table and went, ask some questions about it. And Tavis's were really, really great. So that's how we knew that she would be our host, because she had that genuine curiosity, and wasn't afraid to ask any kind of question. So I know, but we ever get lucky? She is the show. Yeah.
Honestly, Tavis, you do a wonderful job. You really,
thank
really
you.
do. What is it excited you to be a part of the project?
Definitely to get outside more and to learn more about the forest because before this show, I couldn't even imagine how many incredible things were in the forest. I just thought forests were trees,
Mm.
plants, bugs, and I didn't like bugs, so I never went into forest. But then when I did the show, I learned this is in the forest. You could eat this in the forest. It was crazy.
Yeah, that foraging episode, was crazy. It was crazy. I sat
Hmm.
there watching. I'm like, I'm not gonna take this up, but I'm impressed at how much you can do. Like, um,
Yeah, it was really endless. And that's after like cuts and cuts in the edit room. So we could have made a half hour just on that subject alone. Easy.
oh, 100%. Tavis, what surprised you most about the forest? You said that there's so much you didn't know. What surprised you most?
How everything is connected.
Mm.
How if a plant were to like die or someone over foraged a plant, that could risk an animal's life, and that animal's life could risk another animal's life, and it could just keep going and keep going and keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's you're right. There is the forest environment. Everything is connected. Everything is close together. Oh,
Yeah, sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead, Melissa.
I was just going to say it's a theme that came up really unintentionally so often throughout the episodes. We didn't really strive to, go forth and tell everyone how interconnected our world is, but in the end, it is. So that's what we just kind of kept coming back to every single episode. So it really drove the point home, at least to us.
Well, with that in mind, Melissa, I was wondering, in your mind, what did you want to accomplish with the series? What were your goals? What sets this apart?
Yeah, my goal was always that it needs to be beautiful, because if you're going to capture the awe of the forest, it has to look amazing. And, we're not Disney. We don't have the Disney budget to have infinite time. We shot every episode in one day, and one child filled day. So, doing the most with what we can in that time, because if your product doesn't reflect, you know, at least somewhat what we all see with our eyes, you're not really going to capture much awe, and you're not going to capture much curiosity, and then you're not really going to get a generation that might be more interested, you know, in the subject. So we definitely didn't want to beat over the head the whole like, we have to care about this because we won't have it anymore if we don't. We just wanted to say, isn't this beautiful and isn't this amazing? And then let, you know, the younger generation care about it just because of its wildness and because of its beauty.
And that is very much captured. And there's very much a fun to this series as well, like that you don't get from a lot of nature
Yeah.
shows. I want to tell you about the environment. There's a real bounce to it. There's some real energy. Tavis was.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. No, please go ahead.
I was just gonna say that was also always a goal, because if you're doing a nature show through a kid's perspective, like, it has to be fun. They're not, you know, a slow and steady walk that you and I might enjoy is not gonna like get it going for, you know, someone that's Tavis's age.
Absolutely. You know, Tavis, you know, with that in mind, like I think I've seen about 5 or 6 episodes at this point. There's a lot more of them. Was there an episode that you were particularly excited about?
100%. Foraged Feast. And I don't remember the episode name, but I think I got to be a firefighter for a day.
Okay.
Especially like my favorite part about the firefighter for a day is that I got to do training. So I got to run up and down a ramp with a 50-pound backpack on my back with a hot yellow suit. And then I went to the forest and I got this big, huge hose that could blow me away in a second to take down the fires. And I got to go in a helicopter to see if there's any wildfires up in the sky.
Oh, was that, and you did that a sec, because you did that in one of the episodes as well when you were looking at the bogs, but you got to do it again. That's very cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool. So they put you through it. This was hard work.
Mhm.
We did. I mean, the one thing that I'm not sure the show captures, some episodes do, but were the sheer amount of bugs that Tavis and the whole crew, you know, endured. But we went to North Ontario in June, and it was really wild to say the least. We had to write in some bug nets at some point for her. So yeah, she was just the trooper of all troopers.
Yeah, you wouldn't notice, but you couldn't tell, but absolutely that would be a major issue. That would drive me crazy. So that's definitely something to overcome. Um, Melissa, one of the things I thought was interesting too in this film or series, I'm sorry, is the constant Indigenous representation, the callbacks to Indigenous representation. I was wondering why that was so important for you to build upon and keep that as a focus in the series.
Yeah, I just don't think you can make a show about nature now without that perspective. So um, I'm glad that it was noticed, because the whole point is that it's noticed. So we introduce every episode's location first with the Indigenous territory that it's on before saying, you know, what it's now called. And then we have an acknowledgement at the end, and we worked with an Indigenous consult on those. I just it wasn't an option for me. There was no world in which I'd make this show without that in every episode at the very least, in those sections, and then trying organically to find those stories, you know, where they do come up, but not pigeonholing, not doing it for the sake of, you know, checking a box, but for when the content really spoke to it.
Yeah. Also acknowledging that you're on their land,
Mhm.
because a lot of people don't acknowledge that we're standing on their land that they found first.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, it's really. I actually I thought it added so much to the show personally. Um,
Yeah, this is all of these places that we are so beyond even just the science that we're learning. There's so much more to that land than that incredible scientific thing that is really through a Western perspective also. So I'm glad that that came through.
Absolutely. Honestly, the series. I keep saying film. The series is so much fun. What do you both hope audiences take away from it?
That the forest is so important and shouldn't be taken for granted. And people shouldn't just think, oh, the forest is a bunch of trees. Because that's what I thought at first. But then when I went in there and I realized, I'm telling all my friends this, that it's not just a bunch of trees and it's such a special habitat that we have in our planet.
Hmm.
Really.
Yeah, totally. I like hope that honestly, I really hope that people watch it because I think that there needs to be more of these kinds of kids' perspective
Yeah.
in children's media. Live action stuff is really hard. It's costly, it's more risky for media, but I think that the more kids can see shows like this, the more Tavis's message will actually, be successful. So I just want people to see that like it's not a risk to make thoughtful, nature-based content for kids from their perspective.
Honestly, it comes across. It's so much fun. Thank you so much for the time. I wish you two the best, and hopefully there'll be more secrets of the forest in the future that
Yeah.
take, we can learn from. Um, thank
Thanks
you
so
so much.
much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You
You
too.
too.
Bye bye.